This is MaxPreps Friday Night Live.
Welcome to a very special edition of Friday Night Live, not only because it's December, it's championship season, it's holiday season, but because we have two very special guests we'll get to here in a bit. The man with the broken hand because of two-hand touch is Chris Stonebreaker. I am Steve Montoya. Like I said, this is Friday Night Live.
It was a crazy physical two-hand touch game.
Sure it was.
I swear, I promise you guys, Grandma got real physical out there and took it to me. But we do have two very special guests. They have come here from the Army National Guard all the way to Cameron Park, California, and Megan Puche is in the Max right now, and she will be joining us later on in the show with both of them.
Yeah, before we get to them, we want to catch the users up on the playoff scene around the country. So let's bring up this map, and Chris, you're going to get us up to speed.
Yeah, I'll be your color key today. Gray filled-in states are those that have completed already. Blue are the states that will be completing this weekend. And one update to inform you about, Oklahoma has delayed their games to Thursday and Friday of next week. So we show it being blue up there, but actually next week it will be blue.
Yeah, and we have some breaking news coming in through Twitter and some other media outlets that Texas is actually postponing some of their games to Monday. That could be a big deal because that means two games in 1 week. We'll bring on our national football editor, Steve Spiewak, later in the show to catch us up to speed, but that could be a big deal. Yeah. If you want to see all the brackets, all the champions, just go to maxpreps.com/playoffs.
And speaking of champions, at the conclusion of the football season, MaxPreps selects 50 teams from across the country for our Tour of Champions from about 17,000 that actually play football each and every year. So 50 out of 17,000 make the Tour of Champions.
Yeah, it's crazy. You have to be a champion and you have to be highly ranked in our rankings presented by the National Guard. So we're talking about some of the best football teams in the entire country.
In the whole country. And you know what? The Army National Guard is a presenting sponsor, and as I said earlier, Megan Puche is with our special guests in the Max a la Saved by the Bell. Megan, how are you doing?
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Major Mark Burns and Private First Class Brianna Chapman, and they're from the Army National Guard. They're here to talk the Tour of Champions with us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Absolutely. All right, so let's start off and tell us, what does the partnership with MaxPreps and the Tour of Champions mean to the Army National Guard?
Well, MaxPreps aligns really closely with the core values of the Army National Guard, and as a presenting partner, the National Guard has the honor of recognizing their community, to include the students, the athletes, and their families, for the hard work that they've accomplished throughout the season.
And it also helps improve our relationship with the community and as well with the students and the parents.
And you hit a big amount of that community. Since 2005, over 480 teams have been honored through the Tour of Champions, and it's not just football, it's boys and girls basketball, boys and girls soccer, and girls volleyball. So we have 100 more teams slated for the 2013-2014 year. So explain to us why the Army National Guard is so committed to high school sports and programs like the Tour of Champions.
Well, just like high school sports and the Tour of Champions, everyone works as a team. Just like the National Guard, we work as a team to accomplish a mission, or as a high school team would, reach an end zone or reach a certain goal. But this also ties into the life lessons and character traits that the high school faculty work so hard to teach the students, that have an impact and value that, reach not only beyond the schools but into the communities.
Also, the relationship between the students and the National Guard is that the students and their teams, they have a sense of camaraderie, as well as the National Guard does, and it just helps build that relationship with the community and the students.
Absolutely. And now I want to turn our focus here. We have here the Minuteman Trophy, and this is the trophy that's presented to these nationally ranked teams. Talk a little bit about the significance of the Minuteman, and then how that translates to presenting it to these national football programs.
Well, the Minuteman is not only the symbol of the National Guard itself, but we look at it as a symbol of America, okay, where we originated from, and where, what brought us together as a country throughout the centuries. And to have this symbol on top of a trophy And to see a team, raising up above their head and just be so proud of it is just awe-inspiring. And it's unlike any trophy that they have in their trophy case as well. So it stands out, and it, just really symbolizes America.
And also it's an honor as National Guardsmen to share this with the students, because we symbolize this as National Guards, and to share this with them is just a tremendous honor.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We're going to hear a little bit more in just a bit. We're going to send it now back to Chris and Steve in the studio for some top plays.
All right, thanks, Megan, and to our guests from the Army National Guard. We will be back with them shortly.
Megan always does that to me. She always ruins my surprise. Like, I just can't say it myself, but Megan takes my thunder. Anyways, just roll the graphic right now for this week's Friday 5 Plays of the Week. And we begin with Dearness Johnson of Immokalee High in Florida as he starts off and takes the ball from the 1 and breaks multiple tackles. Like right here, 4 defenders end up on the ground on his way to busting it to the outside and outrunning the kicker for an incredible 99-yard kickoff return. A little tired once he hits that end zone.
That's why you condition. All right, in Michigan, another trick play we've heard of, the wrecking ball. This one's called Lulu. Watch, you'd think 7 players are coming off the field. Nope, actually 6. That's Bryce with him at the bottom, and his kicker, Travis Hoving. He notices him down there open, but the defense doesn't. He connects for the touchdown. They would go on to win that state title game at Detroit Lions Stadium. Trick plays now in the state title games, Chris.
Lulu.
Yeah, Lulu. You heard it.
They always have these cute names. I'm going to call this one then hide and seek. I'm just making it up. Hide and seek, as Marine City of Michigan gets tricky as well. On the kickoff return, Jarrett Matheson holds the ball as 3 teammates pass by and not handing the ball off to any of them and keeping it himself for a remarkable kickoff return. Trick play pays off, and they end up winning the Division IV state championship again at Detroit Lions Stadium.
Oh, something with the Lions Stadium, maybe Megatron or something inspired them. All right, this is Florida Armwood. Playmakers come out in the postseason. Hunter Zilbar with the one-handed catch. We're going to show this a couple times, Chris, because it's so amazing. You got to watch the top of the screen as Hunter goes up high for the one-handed grab. What's great about this, Chris, it's a playoff game, slow motion. You really get the great picture here, just how great of a catch that was.
Who needs 2 hands like me?
No,
Who needs
you don't.
2 hands?
You can
I
do
don't
that
need
with
2
a
hands.
broken pinky.
Yeah, Ryan Boyle, Doling High School in Iowa, state championship game. The pocket closes around him. He keeps his eyes up and hits it in for a TD pitch and catch. Let's show it again. Ryan Boyle. He right now looks like a little Johnny Manziel, a little pitch and catch action, keeping it up. Great play. We're seeing that a lot. Last night we saw that with Teddy Bridgewater at Louisville, keeping his eyes up. Man, with the athleticism at the quarterback position and just athleticism overall, those pockets close so fast, and you just got to keep it going.
Yeah, and what's awesome about those plays, Chris, is they're in the postseason even better.
Yeah, and we want to see all of your top plays from not just last week, but throughout the season. From week 1 on, just hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag MPMoment shown right now on your screen, or just go directly to us with @MaxPreps.
All right, we've had 2 special guests on the show already, so let's bring in another special guest. Maybe not as special, but he's still a cool guy. It's our national football editor, Steve Spiewak. And Steve, how you doing? December, great time of the year.
It is, and first off, I just want to say it's an honor to be a guest alongside the National Guard today.
All right, Steve, we're about to pull up our rankings presented by the Army National Guard. On the left side, we have our Riders poll, the one you produce. Booker T. Washington is there. They play for a state title this weekend. If they win, are they a lock for your national champion in our Riders poll?
I wouldn't call them a lock, Steve. I would call them probably the leader in the clubhouse, because after they finish, there will still be 2 additional weeks of high school football and some very, very significant games. Obviously, Washington has had a tremendous season, and when it comes to this time of the year, we tend to focus on the games that are right here in front of us. And in the case of Washington, their marquee games were really early in the season. They went on the road to defeat the then number 3 ranked Norcross squad 55 0, and then 2 weeks later followed it up with the big Prep Super Bowl, the victory over number 2 Miami Central 28-17. They were tested on the road in Las Vegas when they defeated Bishop Gorman, and they have rolled since then, blowing out teams in 3 straight playoff victories. I expect them to win tomorrow, and I think they have a very, very, very good shot to finish as the number 1 ranked team, but they are not a lock because there are teams like Allen coming from the state of Texas, the defending Class 5A Division I champion. They have perhaps the state player of the year in Kyler Murray, and they opened their season with a pretty impressive win as well when they went on the road to defeat South Lake Carroll by over 3 touchdowns. They also defeated Coppell in a big rematch from last year, and they have at least 2 significant national victories potentially left on their schedule. And so this is a team that is currently ranked number 2. They have a shot if they run the table to be in that conversation for the number 1 finish. But they will have to get through another team that is in that very same discussion, and that's DeSoto, a fellow Dallas-Fort Worth area team. And they have a National Player of the Year candidate in Desmond White. DeSoto is well known for their offense, which has posted 698 points so far this season. They dominated powerhouse Euless Trinity. They beat Cedar Hill by 27 points. And if this team beats Allen and they win against Euless Trinity, if that game gets played, because the weather is certainly a factor right now, this is a team that would have a very, very strong resume. But DeSoto's never been there. They've never done it. They've never run the table and won that elusive state title. So if they do, if Claude Mathis's squad finds a way to emerge out of that loaded bracket, then you have to consider DeSoto in the national title discussion. There are a couple teams out west I think also belong, and De La Salle, whenever you're talking about national titles, they seem to always creep up into the mix. They started off slowly this year. They nearly lost to Serra in a game that was kind of alarming, but now we've seen that Serra actually was one of the better teams in the state this season, and since that game, no one has come within 25 points of the Spartans. The difference between Spartan teams of the past is that this De La Salle squad has not faced any out-of-state competition. Oftentimes when they schedule, they have an out-of-state foe that serves as a pretty good barometer for just how good they are. But I think we're going to have to wait and see how they do in possible regional bowl game against Folsom, and maybe an open division bowl game potentially against this team, St. John Bosco, the clear-cut number 1 team in Southern California right now, and they are the number 1 team in our computer rankings. They're doing things that we've never seen in terms of the way they are dominating Southern California Trinity League competition. They blew out Mater Dei. They beat Servite, Santa Margarita, Alameda. They are just rolling right now. They have a very, very potent offense led by quarterback Josh Rosen, running back Sean McGrew, receivers Shea Fields and Jaleel Wadood, and their defense is very solid with the likes of Malik Dorton and Najeel Hale, this son of Nate Dogg. So guys, just a lot of teams that, depending on how the season finishes, could have a legitimate argument for that number 1 spot. And if it is indeed De La Salle facing St. John Bosco for the open division title in what would be the last game of the high school season, it would be very dramatic because that game would have major national title implications.
All right, thank you, Steve. Another big difference for De La Salle, no Coach Bob Latterson.
Right. He's still there in the program, but not coaching on the sideline.
Right. Another top 25 team is Hoover, Alabama, out of Alabama. So let's get to know their top recruit and get to the game, powered by American Family Insurance.
Get to the game, powered by American Family Insurance. Marlon Humphrey, a standout defensive back and track star from Hoover, Alabama, has a simple dream.
Marlon wants to be the greatest. He has a plan, and he works hard to achieve that plan.
I protect Marlon's dreams by being a guiding light for him. Knowing Marlon, he has drive and the mental attitude, he's going to accomplish and he's going to succeed.
I've always been a hard worker. You won't really be able to get too far doing anything without a strong will. You have to be determined.
He would probably love to be a guy that played in the NFL, but also ran in the Olympics, which would be pretty special. And I could see that as a dream for him.
Marlon comes from a family of athletes, and he showed his potential at a young age.
As a young player, Marlon showed some glimpse of being a pretty good football player. He had that natural instinct.
When I first started evaluating Marlon, I knew he had a chance to be special. He's got great ball skills. He's not just a straight line runner, he's got great hips.
My biggest strengths are my speed on the line. Pretty strong guy. A lot of receivers don't just get off me.
Being a Humphrey means having the greatest supporters and some of the toughest critics right in the family.
I think anytime you're around the Humphreys, you can tell that there's something special about them because of how close they are to each other, the way they get along. His sister runs the hurdles. His older brother played here, was a very hard worker and a great player. I think as he's grown up and seen that, had great examples in front of him, it's just made him want to do that.
Last thing you want to do in the Humphrey family, not do well, and you had to come home and be around the dinner table. They like to push each other.
Brothers and sisters push me, my parents push me, so the kind of pressure was on for me there.
I think the key to Marlon's success has been that he has a plan. He wakes up every day saying, hey, I want to achieve greatness today. I want to do things better than I've ever been done before.
To watch more inspiring stories about these incredible athletes and their dreams, visit amfam.com/gettothegame.
Now, Hoover has been a part of our Tour of Champions over the years. They were actually a part of it last year after going 16-0 and winning the 6A state championship in Alabama. And like we had said earlier, and we went out earlier as well, to the max, Megan Pichet is with our guests from the Army National Guard. Megan?
All right, thanks guys. I'm here again with Major Mark Burns of the Army National Guard and Private First Class Brianna Chapman of the California Guard. And we just finished talking about the Minuteman Trophy here. And tell us a little bit more about what it's like to actually present the trophy to the teams, to be on campus, interacting with the students, and being at the ceremony.
It's truly amazing. I mean, to be at that event, in that arena or in that stadium, and presenting that Minuteman Trophy is just an honor, because not only does it really symbolize America, but just to see them raise that up, and it's just an awesome experience. The energy and the excitement is just phenomenal.
It's a great honor to experience that with these students. It's probably like the first time they've ever experienced something like that. And to me, it's just to feed off of that energy and just to see all the parents and the faculty just get hyped up and support the kids. It's a great experience.
It is. And one last question before you guys have to take off. Just give us a good explanation about why, being part of the National Guard and the service there is good for our students.
Well, it's good for students because it's an opportunity where they can earn a part-time paycheck while still going to school. And also they'll still be able to interact within the community that they grew up in.
And you also, make relationships with people that you'll never forget, experiences as well. For example, in my experience, I was fortunate enough to go into the law enforcement academy, and the National Guard paid for everything, the equipment, books and uniforms, just a lot of things that I didn't really have to worry about. The National Guard just paid for it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again for being on today. It's been an absolute pleasure. And Chris and Steve, we'll kick it back to you guys.
Hey, thanks so much again for the National Guard to come out here. Great job there by Megan. We learned so much. So honored to have them as a partner as we do these Tour Champions stops and a lot more. All right, Chris, moving on here a bit. Last Monday, we saw a game on Monday Night Football, and one team got pounded.
Yes, and that team was the New Orleans Saints.
Yes.
They traveled up to Seattle to take on the Seattle Seahawks, and the final score was 34-7. During that game, Russell Wilson went for 310 yards and 3 TDs. But Steve, this week they have the Niners. Yeah, so that's in the past. Yeah, you know what else is in the past?
Your mustache?
Yes, and the use of my pinky. But what else is in the past is his high school days.
We always go back.
Always go back, and he is a part of our way back when. Wilson attended collegiate school in Richmond, Virginia, and was a solid 5'11", 180 pounds. As a junior in 2005, he threw for 3,287 yards and 40 touchdowns. He also rushed for 634 yards and 15 TDs. He was named an All-District, All-Region, and All-State player and won state with a perfect 11-0 record. Wilson was twice named the Richmond Times-Dispatch Player of the Year. As a senior in 2006, he threw for 3,009 yards, 34 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Wilson also rushed for 1,132 yards and 18 touchdowns. That year, he was named an All-Conference and All-State player as well as Conference Player of the Year. In addition to football, Wilson also was a member of the collegiate basketball and baseball teams. He hit .467 and was selected by the Baltimore Orioles with the 5th pick in the 41st round in the 2007 draft.
Chris, watching some of these highlights right here, you just see how much of an athlete he is, and sometimes you're judged by your size. Well, a lot of the times, it seems like some people are regretting looking at his size only.
Yeah, I mean, he's now seen that, in the skill of things by using the pump fake and the spin move and the different variations of throwing the ball. He can get his pass off and be a very successful and effective quarterback even at the NFL level. Being a 2 or 3-star recruit, I mean, it was probably solely based off the fact that he was only 5'11", 180 pounds. So pretty cool seeing him this week against Drew Brees, a guy that he's always compared to and doing really well on a national stage.
Yeah, and even if you're not a Seahawks fan, like us, it's still hard not to like Russell Wilson and what he does and how much of a winner he is. All right, speaking of winner, we've partnered with Chevy to feature 8 hometown heroes in the state of Texas. This week, it's Coach Bobby Reyes.
Bobby Reyes has been coaching since 1973. He is this week's Texas Hometown Hero, brought to you by the all-new 2014 Silverado.
The Nacogdoches Dragons are in practically uncharted territory. For only the 3rd time since 1965, NAC reached the playoffs. To truly appreciate this turnaround, one must meet Bobby Reyes, who has been coaching since 1973.
This has been a great year for Nacogdoches High School, a great year for Nacogdoches football, and really it's been a great year for our town.
Ironically enough, Bobby was an assistant coach at Nacogdoches with former Houston Cougar head coach John Jenkins from 1974 to 76, and again from 81 to 90.
I'm an offensive guy. I used to be a defensive coordinator, and I got away from the dark side. I've been running the spread since 94. John Jenkins, when he got to Houston and did the run and shoot stuff, I went down there and spent a week with him and picked up a bunch of stuff, and I started running it right then. People just abuse you verbally on the chat lines and in the newspaper and the radio and the TV. And then, there's nothing wrong with these kids. They're good kids. But nobody's ever just really given them credit for what they're capable of doing.
Bobby Reyes is a Chevy hometown hero because he holds players, coaches, and himself accountable. The turnaround at Nacogdoches ended with a playoff loss and a 7-4 final record, but the lessons learned for these players and coaches will last a lifetime. In Nacogdoches, I'm Jeff Power.
This has been an episode of Texas Hometown Heroes, brought to you by the all-new 2014 Silverado. For more episodes, visit maxpreps.com/hometown heroes.
And as usual, I want to remind you to see that in its entirety. Go to maxpreps.com/hometown heroes, and also tell us your hometown hero story on Twitter using the hashtag hometown heroes.
Yeah, Chris, a lot of big games this week. You can almost call any game our national game of the week, but we did narrow it down to some top games, so we're going to pull up the list now that we'd like to see. And one of the games you mentioned earlier, Jinx Union, has been postponed till next week. Some maybe even these Texas games might be moved. So let's bring in Steve Spiewak. And Steve, one game is going down in Ohio that has 2 nationally ranked teams going up against each other.
That's right, Steve. We're talking about the Division I state final featuring Cincinnati area school Moeller taking on a Cleveland Power in Mentor, and both teams are 13-1 and nationally ranked. Mentor is led by their quarterback Connor Krasanchik, and guys, he's thrown for 2,400 yards, and he's just been a sensational signal caller for the team this year. Makes very few mistakes in Mentor's very precise passing-based offense. And what's really interesting, guys, his father is the coach, but he's not the coach of the football team. He is the coach of the Mentor basketball team, which is ranked number 17 in our excellent 25, and they tip off tonight. So as soon as he's finished with his game against Moeller, probably the next day he'll be attending basketball practice, which is pretty cool to see. A true dual sport star. And then Moeller, led by their head coach, John Rodenberg, they were the 2002 state champions in the Division I bracket. It would not be surprising if they repeated as champions, kind of hearkening back images of the Moeller glory days when they were led by their head coach, Jerry Faust. But this team is very, very talented. Their only loss was a 45-42 setback to St. Edward. And guys, had they not lost that game, you know, we were talking earlier about all the teams in the mix for a #1 spot and a national title. If Moeller had beaten St. Edward, and if they are to win tomorrow, if you have an undefeated resume in the state of Ohio with a Division I state championship under your belt, that is a really, really impressive season, and they would have been in the discussion. They will still finish high if they win this game tomorrow, but with the one loss, it kind of eliminates them from national title contention.
All right, Steve, before we let you go, real quick, any updates on the Texas playoff information about how that might go down, and then anything else we should watch for this weekend?
There are 3 very popular words in the state of Texas right now: wait and see. It's all about waiting and seeing how the weather develops. A lot of games are kind of just in, we're still on right now, but we don't know if weather intensifies and worsens. We'll have to postpone. The major complicating factor is that the UIL requires a 5-day rest period between games. So some teams are expecting the weather to be so bad that they may not get to play until Monday. And if that happens, teams that play on Monday will not be able to play again until the following Saturday, a week from tomorrow. And if by some stroke of bad luck, teams are unable to play by Monday, that's when things get really hairy, because UIL does not allow teams to play on Sundays, and with that mandatory 5-day rest period, we could be looking at a potential Allen versus DeSoto game being played on next Monday night or next Tuesday night, whatever it might be. So let's just keep our fingers crossed for blue skies in the state of Texas and elsewhere around the country.
All right, thanks, Steve. Hey, Chris, another team that was on our top 10 games of the week was Centennial. And last week, they kind of went off.
Yeah, going off would be an understatement.
Yeah.
I would say Coach Logan Centennial Huskies of Corona, California. I mean, they broke the record of 937 yards set by St. Stanislaus of Mississippi in 2012, and the state record of 912, which is now 4th all-time, held by Happy Camp from a game in 1967, with their 943 total yards against Upland in an 86-56 rout during the CIF Southern Section Inland Division semifinal Friday night. Leading the way was star running back Trey Watson, shown here, going for a touchdown. He had 519 yards on 40 carries, including 6 touchdowns. And check this out, Steve. Losing quarterback Tyler Helinski threw for 7 touchdowns.
In a losing effort?
In a losing effort. So, I mean, we talk about the DeSoto matchup. That could be a true Monday night football.
Yeah.
I mean, for high school. And then you see this Vista Murrieta Centennial game. I wonder if Centennial can go out and try to hit 100. The fans during this game were yelling 100, 100.
Yeah.
I mean, how cool would that be to be at that game? Every time a team touched the ball, they literally were scoring.
Yeah, it seems like if you're going to go watch a Centennial game, Trey Watson puts on a show.
Oh, yeah, 519 yards. So it was like full circle for us on this show through the season. At the very beginning, he was a stat star. Now he comes back and he puts up those numbers in another game, and it's going to be really impressive to see him throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, if you're going to that game or if you're going to any game this weekend, please do what?
Quick Score, and you see right now, QWIXCORE. It's Quick Score. It's free. It's MaxPreps' mobile scoring network. It's fans serving fans. Just go to quickscore.com, reserve your unique scoring link today. You click on it on your phone, it opens up in your web browser, and you're able to live score any game in America, so anybody that's not there can follow you on maxpreps.com for free. I mean, no more text to your friends, nothing. You just get on and check it out.
Yeah, and please do it. You don't have to search around Twitter. You just follow it right there on your phone. Best of luck to anyone still playing out there. We want to thank the Army National Guard for being here. For Megan Pache, Chris Stonebreaker, Steve Spiewak, and all of us here at MaxPreps, I'm Steve Montoya. This has been Friday Night Live.
This is MaxPreps Friday Night Live.